You hear me now?
Yep.
Yep. Hey man, how's practice look this week? You feeling better about Hazelwood and Latham's chances of playing and general health of the team?
Well, I think we're healthy. Obviously, there's a guy or two that hadn't practiced all fall. So, but the guys have been dinged up a little bit. I feel real good about them being able to play. And so I feel pretty good about all that. Hazelwood's looked good this week. And so I think we'll be fine injury-wise.
Okay, and then just the product of the fast starts that you've done in practices and all, do you feel like how that might translate to the game to get off to a quicker start?
Well, I hope so. Obviously there's some concern there from how we practiced in the past for slow starts against Rice last year and against Penn State in a bowl game with coming off of layoffs. Certainly wasn't the case necessarily on defense, but offense it was. So we're trying to do some different things. Part of it is stay consistent with fast starts in practice. Part of it is how we're trying to attack Indy the first period of practice. So we certainly made a press towards that, coming off of any water breaks and those things, trying to get into a fast pace and good quality reps. So we know what our weaknesses are from a year ago, and we're trying to attack them, and hopefully it works.
Trey.
Hey, Coach. Curious, what's left to check off the list this week? I mean, you guys have been prepared for this team for a long time. It's the first game. What's left on the list?
I think you, at this point in time, you're looking at practice 23, 24, and 25, and it's different than what might be a regular week. So your practice schedules, we chose to go pretty heavy on Monday and Tuesday, and then starting to wind down a little bit. Today we're going to go in spiders, and tomorrow as well. But the things, I want to make sure that we know exactly who our opponent is. So in our meetings, we're going to start with Cincinnati film. I learned as an assistant that a lot of times you are going over the tape so much from practice that you don't get to the opponent as much as you'd like to. So we're starting our individual meetings with understanding exactly who we are playing. And but other than that, I think we're pretty sound in our special teams game. And I think we're pretty sound offense and defensively. We've had, obviously 4 practices on Cincinnati, and maybe 4 days of a period of practice was strictly for Cincinnati. We know it's going to be a really physical game. So part of my concern was getting back healthy. And so I think, other than that, Trey, just making sure that we start each meeting on the University of Cincinnati for the mind. What happens in the game of football, you're anxious about things that you're not totally sure about. And I think our big thing for our staff now is to take the anxiety out of the game. And we're going to see some things that we're not ready for. I get it. But I want to get these guys confident in the mind by watching a little bit more and emphasizing Cincinnati a little bit more than what we have, because we've been worried about ourselves the entire camp. And so these last few days, I want them to really get to know the opponent on film a little better.
And it looks like a good group of recruits coming in. How important is that, bringing recruits to games? Because you don't get a whole lot of opportunities. Weather could be an issue. Timing could be an issue. But this looks like 2:30 is a good opportunity and should be a really good crowd also.
Yeah, it's very important, especially, with our fans. I think our stadium will be as entertaining, as loud, as whatever you want to call it, on a Saturday afternoon as anywhere in the country. let's face it, the state's excited about the football team, and we're excited to show the state our team. With that said, that goes a long way in recruiting. Whether you go to a place that's half full or whether you have one that's going to be full like ours and loud and we have one of the most special things in the world in our hog call. I mean, it's powerful, it's moving, it's a lot of things, and to have that stadium full and calling the hogs, it certainly helps us recruit. And we're excited about having the brand of guys we have coming in here for this weekend.
Bob?
Hey, Sam. Hey, my first one, I had a question for Nate. I wanted to ask you. He couldn't be on, but he was wanting to get your thoughts on your defensive line matchup against Cincinnati's offensive line. And, do you feel like you have some playmakers like Ridgeway and Trey Williams for last year that maybe can get double teamed and still make plays?
If you looked on paper, they're way ahead of us. They have 5 starters coming back. We don't. We lost on paper all 3 of our starters. Now, obviously, we played 2 separate lines most of the time. They were in about 4 plays last year, and out 4, and in 4, and out 4. But we have a plan. Certainly against their great offensive line, and they're really good. We have a plan. We think we can have success as long as we can execute it and run the ball and play hard. But that's going to be a big challenge. You don't see many guys that have 5 returning starters up front and all the starts that they have in there. We're fortunate that we have 4, on our offensive line. We don't, however, on our D line. So that'll be a key part, in my opinion, to the way the ball game goes. If I was Cincinnati, I'd come in there and turn around, hand the football off, and see if we can stop the run. We'll see if we can or not, and we'll see obviously what they do. But I think that's going to be one of the biggest keys there. And I like what we've done on our D line this fall camp.
And with Dalton, I remember when camp started, you expressed, I don't know if concern's the right word, but how Dalton would hold up physically, and it seems like he's held up pretty well. I know he told us when we talked to him earlier that he felt good. He's a captain. I don't think guys would vote for him for captain if he was struggling in camp. So what kind of camp has he had? What are you expecting from him?
He's had a good camp. We're very fortunate that we have Tyquise Crawford as well that can play out there, if Dalton gets dinged up or whatever, but he's had a super good camp, and I think he's really ready to go. And he hadn't missed any reps that we didn't take him out of in camp.
So one more, I saw where Ridgeway made the Cowboys.
That's awesome.
I just wonder what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, good for him. And then Monteric Brown made his squad, and of course Traylon Burks made his. And we're really proud. That was our 3 guys got drafted last year, and I guess I saw Grant Morgan got signed to the scout team, or I don't know what they call it in the NFL.
Practice squad.
Practice squad, I'm sorry. And so that's really good, and proud of all those guys. And those are hard days right there, waiting to see if you get cut or get on the team. A lot of money difference in the 2, but we're proud of all those guys, and the ones that went in there and got released. We're proud of those too. But that was really cool with Ridgeway getting on the Dallas Cowboys with Mr. Jones's team. That was really cool.
Thanks, Sam.
Tom?
How much you tackle live during camp is always a calculation, and certainly what it wasn't in years past. How well do you think you guys are going to do at live tackling based on, what you've seen in camp?
Well, we haven't. And so we've tackled an individual, made a big emphasis of it in different teach periods, certainly for the defense. We had a long talk about it, to be honest with you, Tom, as a staff. And, I'm old school in a lot of ways, I guess, because I'm old. But it never was a conversation of whether you were going to tackle to the ground in a scrimmage before, until the last 2 or 3 years and maybe 5 years. We feel like what we did is the best for our program and our kids, to keep us as healthy. We're very physical at practice. So we felt like it was the best thing for us to keep our kids healthy as possible, and opportunity to win the game with having our guys ready to play and tackle and individual. And so it certainly has changed. I don't know who's changed that way with us. But that's what we believed in, and we feel like we'll tackle well.
Okay, and just a general question about team speed, like in your years here, where do you feel like you've advanced in that department? If you feel like you're a faster team?
To be perfectly honest, I think when we first came in here, I felt like you could change your team the fastest way by getting speed. And we really didn't care the size of the guy. And I think that the thing that's changed in our going on 3 years here is certainly the size of our lines, but more as important, we have fast guys that are big. And in the past, we had the ones we could get were small, if that makes sense. A lot of them. Obviously, Burks was here before, but now we have big and faster guys, and I think that's probably the biggest change over the last few years for us.
Hutch.
Sam, y'all named your captains yesterday. It didn't seem like there were very many surprises. Were you pleased with the group that got voted captains yesterday?
I loved it. I mean, whenever they, we have a tally of the votes and they bring it to me, and I had the biggest grin and biggest smile. Now, basically the two guys saying most proud of that's not right. Look, I think everybody in the land that knows anything about Arkansas football knew that KJ Jefferson and Jalen Catalon were going to get voted captain. The other two were, we have so many guys that could fill that void. I mean, we do. Blair's one of them, and certainly Ricky Stromberg and all that. But when I saw Dalton Wagner on there, you guys, I don't know if you see how the team looks at the guy, but to come back for his, super senior year and get elected captain. And when I introduced him to the team as one, I mean, he was grateful. I mean, and Bumper pulled to tell me it was the highest award that he's ever gotten as a football player. Really cool. And so you're looking at two super seniors that came back, were elected captain by their team. I mean, it was a special moment. I'm not a big video guy of all that kind of stuff because, I knew there were some guys, man, I wish I would have got it. You know what I'm saying? But man, was I proud that the team voted Wagner and Poole as captains, along with the other two. But like I already expressed, we knew they were going to get voted captain. But I thought that was really cool and really happy for those guys. They're going to be captains of the 2022 team for life. And that's really cool.
And then also, I'm curious if the last couple of days of practice have maybe provided you more clarity on your cornerback spot, opposite of Hudson Clark.
Yeah, I think we have a little more clarity there. We have four, and really, with Kyrie Johnson being in that 4 and 5 and all that kind of stuff. So I feel really good about what we're going to do. I'm not really ready to say what we're going to do, but I feel, yes, to answer your question, yes, I feel pretty clear about what's going on out there and where we're going to start the game with it, and feel really good about it.
Scotty.
Hey, Sam, I wanted to ask you about AJ Green. With him having a full preseason under his belt, do you feel like we'll finally see him more full speed, I guess, in the return game?
I hope so. He's had a good camp with it, catching the ball well. You have to do it a little bit to gain true confidence in yourself. In most people, there's some guys that are just natural and they go out there and they're not, not worried about anything. Just, I'm going to catch it and I'm going to, he's not one of those guys. I think we had to build confidence in him as he was building our confidence, as well. And so he's done a really good job. And I know what you're saying with the question is, will we see 10-3 speed this year? Is what we're looking for. That's what he is. And I feel like we'll get much closer to that 10-3 than what he was a year ago.
You talk about Rocket a lot at tailback. How's AJ looked at running back this preseason?
He's been fine. He's done a good job. He's better. I think Dominion is pressing him, to be honest with you there. At the same time, he's better than what he was a year ago. So I think we're in pretty good shape there. I think everybody knows we'd love to have Dominique Johnson back as soon as we can get him back. And whether it's this week or not, I don't know. I don't know if he's practiced enough for this week or been able to practice enough, but that'll be kind of a game time scenario for us there. But we need him back. He's a big back for us, a good back. And but I like where we're at with those other two guys. 3, but you asked about AJ and Rashad. Yeah.
Christina.
Coach, this is more of an off-field question about you, but since you became a head coach, is there a part of a game day that you look forward to the most, or something about your routine that you've developed over your 3 years as a head coach now?
I like to win and go in the locker room and see those kids. That, I'm telling you, that's a great question. It's priceless. There's nothing in the world can buy it. There ain't enough money in the world can buy it. But when we win and I get to go in there and brag on our coaches and see their face and then see the kids' face of hard work. And when we win, that's why you coach, and it's incredible. And I love that. I love Fridays when I talk to the team. You asked specifically, I think, on game day. And I love Saturdays before we go out. And it's 30 seconds. It's 35 seconds. But you can feel it. You can feel it. And what's getting ready to happen and the excitement on the kids. And those are the special moments. Obviously, when you win and you're around those kids, it's incredible.
Trey.
Coach, it seems like every week I change my mind on which one of your wide receivers I like the best. I'm wondering if you do
tell
the
me.
same. Yeah, if you do the same, do you see like maybe 3 or 4 guys kind of evenly distributing, or you think a guy will eventually emerge as kind of a go-to?
Well, I'm not for sure, Trey, that I'm not very similar to you. When somebody passes somebody in your mind, it doesn't mean the other ones. When you got a pretty good group, whenever somebody passes a guy, it doesn't mean he's not very good. If you have a bad group, guy passes a guy, you probably got a bad player that just got passed. That's not the case. And I think you would agree with me there as well. But yes, I think there's been, this guy's our best receiver, that guy's our best receiver, this guy. But I think right now we have 4 that have been separated themselves a little bit, either size talent-wise or the way that they're running routes, with Jackson, Landers, Hazelwood, and Warren Thompson. Those are our top 4 receivers. And I don't know who the best one is. We'll see who the best gamer is. That's what we'll find out Saturday. And a lot of times those guys separate themselves on a Saturday afternoon.
I always hear from a lot of coaches is Friday night you talked about anxiety and stuff, but Friday night's still a difficult night to sleep. How important is these next 2 nights in terms of making sure that your guys get good night rest? Do you preach that to them? And
we have, absolutely, we have that, and rehabbing and hydrating. Those things are going to be big. I'm not a big scientist. I don't know all the fancy stuff about, but they did tell me that you have to hydrate several days before, your activity, whatever it might be. And so we've certainly pushed that, and our nutritionists and our strength staff have done a really good job of getting them in the cold tubs. And now we're just working on the mental aspect of them as well. They got to lock in. It's a big deal. College football, playing at University of Arkansas, huge deal. And we want to take that anxiety out of them as much as we can in all aspects.
Wrap us up, Bob.
Okay, Sam, you're going into your third season as a head coach. Obviously, the first season was pretty weird with COVID, but I don't know I know you're not relaxed, but I mean, do you feel how do you feel differently going into your third year than maybe the first year or the second year even?
Bob, my first year, I didn't know anything, and there'll be some people say I still don't, and that's fine. But my first year was, how do I call the officials over to talk to them? How do, can I, where's switch 1, 2, 3, hit this button to go to special teams? It was all nerve wracking. What are we going to do pregame? All these different things that are now, year 3. And so you're more comfortable as anything. If you've done it before, you become more comfortable. You got to watch that too, because with a little bit of comfortability, then you can get lax. I don't think we've done that, but certainly I know we've had the coordinators back, so that's helped me tremendously, all 3 of them. And but going into this game, I think we've seen the only question mark, Bob, and we haven't started fast on offense when we've had some time, whether it be the bowl or whether it was even though the week off last year, I think Mississippi State, we did fine offensively after, off the bye week. But other than that, I know our players know us, and we know, I know the coaches. And so there is a big comfort in that. And I feel good about it.
Have you seen like a moonshine iced tea liquor t-shirt yet, or are you waiting for that to come out?
No, I haven't seen one. If we could be fortunate enough to win, I'll guarantee there'll be some of them, but I don't know. It's the first game's the ones that where you better be ready, because you don't have a clue what they're getting ready to do. They've got their base principles, but you walk into LSU at night and they cover 0 you all night, they're going to a different party than what you might have expected, and we got to adjust. They'll do the same thing. Coach Fickle's such a wonderful, great coach that they'll do the same thing on whatever we're trying to do. But these are different deals now, first game of year, because you really don't know. You don't know a whole lot about what's coming at you. And even though they've got a, same defensive coordinator, and, their offensive coordinator was a quarterback coach, and all those type things, you find out a lot about your team first 2 or 3 series of the game, in my opinion, in that first game. So we'll have to be ready to make adjustments.
This one popped in my head. You mentioned Luke Fickell said he wrestled. You're from Oklahoma. That's a big wrestling state. Did you ever, you look like you could have wrestled. Did you ever wrestle in high school or junior high or anything?
Well, it would have been heavyweight. And I did wrestle in 5th grade at the Gary Invitational. And I got beat on riding time. That's back when riding for the championship. I think there was 4 of us there was only 4 guys big enough. I happened to be one of them. And I got beat 3-2 riding time, which means he was on top of me longer and I was on top of him. They don't count it anymore. But so I lost. And then after that, I decided to take up basketball. It seemed to be a little easier sport to me, but I wasn't even good there either. But yes, I did wrestle in 5th grade. Got beat by a 6th grader.
I'll say he had an advantage. That wasn't fair.
Well, he did have an advantage, but if you're going to the point where Coach Fickle and I are going to wrestle, that will not happen because he put me in some kind of double chicken wing, and I'm not trying to do all that.
Okay, thanks.
I'm surprised Bob didn't ask you if you remember the guy's name who you wrestled.
I do remember the guy's name, but I'm not going to give it out right now because he'll make headlines on me.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
Have a
See you on
good one.
Saturday.
All right, see you Saturday.